Hey friends, Mark Holmes here, and as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, this literally does not work. Man, it has literally changed. The season has changed crazy. I mean, it's cold out here. I mean, literally, I had to get out my poncho, okay? I'm a guy who normally wears shorts through the winter, but that wind is hawking right now. It is blowing like crazy. And it's cold. So thank God for the fire pit, finally being able to get some use out of it. I don't know if I'll do a fireside chat out here or not. I might be in an overcoat, But I got to answer a question from Philly for Life. He's taken offense to me calling the Eagle fans cockroaches. He said, wait a minute. You grew up in the Washington, D.C. area, and you're a Cowboys fan? He's like, you're the cockroach. He said, I'd like to know when you became a Dallas Cowboy fan. And I say, Philly for Life, thank you for coming into the channel, making a comment and stuff. We do welcome people from other teams and things in here, because it's all, about having the conversation and stuff. All I ask is let's kind of keep the cussing down. I'm going to try to do better. I know I'm a potty mouth. I'm going to try and do better, because we got young people, and I know a lot of people are like kids don't hear cussing. Well, they don't have to hear it here. But here's the thing, Philly for Life. You say you and I are about the same age. I was born in 1965, actually in Washington, D.C., at Freeman's Hospital, which is now Howard University. I know a lot of you guys have heard this story before, so you can just turn off if you want to, but I'll get back to Jason Garrett after this. Growing up, I was the first class that actually integrated in my elementary school. I'm that old. And some of the first memories I have of life was sitting on the sofa and looking up to my dad and hearing him talking about the Cowboys, and having my uncles and cousins and things over who were all Redskin fans. And having gone through segregation, having my dad living through that his whole entire life, with everybody in the NFL already integrated, okay, which actually started in 1948. Even in the 60s, George Preston Marshall would not integrate his team until finally, basically, a court order forced him to, and he had to die and leave the team because they had the Southern market. And my father was like, I cannot support that team because of it. That, and he liked Bob Bullet Hayes. So he was a Dallas Cowboy fan. And me growing up, all I knew was my dad was a Dallas Cowboy fan, and go Cowboys, yeah, and everything else. So wanting to be like my father, who I looked up to literally because I was only this tall and he's up here, I followed in my father's footsteps of being a Dallas Cowboy fan. And that wasn't easy living here. It's easy now because the Redskins stink and it's such a transient area. But back in the day, the Redskins were good. And even, in fact, when I went to high school during the 80s, Richie Pettibone, the defensive coordinator, his kids and I played on football at Madison High School together. Our crosstown rival, J.D. Gibbs, was their quarterback. So I was amongst Redskins all the time. My brother ran into Dyron Talbert's wife's car, fender bender. Never once did I ever root for the Redskins, even when they were winning Super Bowls. That's a true story. I even had the opportunity to watch a game in Joe Gibbs' box. All I had to do was root for the Redskins, and guess what? Ain't been in Joe Gibbs' box. So I am a diehard Dallas Cowboy fan. But I'm sitting here as we talk about Jason Garrett. Everybody's getting on the bandwagon about fire Jason Garrett and so on. And basically, this game is the edict for Jason Garrett to win, or he may actually finally lose his job over the bye week. Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones, of course, are saying the right thing, that he's not on the hot seat. We wouldn't make that change, because you're not going to say that. You're not going to say, damn it, Jason Garrett doesn't win this weekend, we're firing. You're not going to do that. Nobody does that. In the same sense, nobody goes into the last year of a coach's contract, they extend it. You don't do that. But the Cowboys, of course, do things a little bit differently than everybody else. And that is part of the problem. In the same way you haven't signed Dak Prescott. It's like, we have no faith in you. Well, if you don't have any faith in me, why should the players have faith in you? You're probably not going to be here next year. So I'm really auditioning for the next guy. But it hit me that Jason Garrett is now Marty Schottenheimer. And I know some of you guys will be like, whoa, Jason Garrett could never be Marty Schottenheimer. But actually, Marty Schottenheimer has a 0.613 winning percentage. Let me get these things exactly because I want to make sure I got it right. He won 200 games and only lost 126 with one tie. That's a .613 winning percentage. Incredible. Except when it came to playoffs. He famously lost when he was a coach of the Cleveland Browns twice to John Elway in what's now football lore. They broke the Cleveland Browns' heart, and in some ways they thought it began the curse for the Cleveland Browns, which still is going on strong today. His playoff, don't want to get burnt. His playoff record is 5-13. A 0.27. Not real good. He's at more wins than anybody else to never go to a Super Bowl. He coached with the Cleveland Browns and had the Cleveland Browns close to a Super Bowl. And that was the only real success he had in the playoffs. He went to Kansas City, and oh my God, the offense he had was like a throwback. They had like Barry Word and Christian Okoye. You know, these are dudes that would literally run the hell over you, you know? He ended up having these great defenses. He had Derek Thomas, who tragically died in a SUV accident in the snow. But he was known for these, you know, knock you out teams. He was also coaching in San Diego. And who am I forgetting? Oh, Washington. And Washington, actually, this is the truth. He's the only coach under the Dan Snyder era that didn't have a losing record when they left. He was 8-8. He started out 0-5, turned the team around and went 8-8, and got fired. He could get his team for the playoffs, but just could not win. Does that sound familiar? That's Jason Garrett. And the reality is coaches who do not go to the Super Bowl in 5 years now, and I'm talking about the modern era, I'm not talking about Tom Landry and Don Shula and stuff, I'm talking about the last 30 years or so. But if you have not made it to the Super Bowl in the first 5 years, you haven't. And Jason Garrett has been here since 2010 as the head coach. Everybody else that's been in the same spot as long as him has been to a Super Bowl. So what you have to understand with Jason Garrett is he'll win you some games. He's not going to get you beyond that. But here's the thing. This is why the Cowboys will win. This is why they'll win on Sunday night. Jason Garrett, much like Marty Schottenheimer, is a survivor. He'll do just enough that gives you hope to think that maybe this time it'll be different. Maybe this time we'll get there. Because we saw this over and over and over again. From 8-8, 8-8, 8-8, he was on the hot seat. 12-4. Next year, 4-12. Hot seat. Dak Prescott. Playoffs. Division crown. 2017. Expectations were there. Team didn't perform as well as you thought. Hot seat. And then the beginning of last year, hot seat that was burning up. They were 3-5, and we were talking about replacements. Lincoln Riley. We were talking about firing Scott Linehan. And the team turns it around. Well, here we are again. The idea, if he does not win it's going to cost him his job during the bye week. And that for no other reason. That's why the Cowboys will win. It may be crazy, but I'm telling you, when the back's against the wall, when you think it's finally done and over with, it never is. We'll see. We shall see. So, Philly for life, I hope that answers your question. And I appreciate you guys being here on the Joe Boo Sports Report. And we're going to do a drive time show on days that I'm home by 5 o'clock. We'll just do like an impromptu live stream. We'll start taking some calls from time to time. But the only problem I have is this. When I take calls and I put out the number, people will watch it hours later and they start calling, including in the middle of the freaking night. It's only when it's live, right then and there. You can't call me later on. Okay? I'm Mark Holmes, and as always, thank you guys for being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. I'll see you guys in a little bit in our live stream when Michael's finished doing his.